Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the Cross-Courser Recall Collar, which is being made by user Nero, and what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a lovely piece of equipment that your character can wear that will give them the same recall/rewind power that Tracer from Overwatch has, and that's freaking amazing. So let's take a look at this thing in the Pip-Boy. It will fall under apparel as it is a lovely piece of armor, and if we take a look here, you can see is just a gorgeous piece of modeling. Nero really outdid himself on the quality of the modeling and texturings on this thing. It is a really cool device, and you guys also know me, I love a good lore reason for my mods to exist, and this has a great lore excuse. Basically, Nero came up with a fun story that the Institute created these devices to try and keep their coursers alive. Basically, if a courser was about to suffer fatal damage, they could activate it to rewind their time a little bit to avoid getting killed. Problem was that the Institute thought it was too expensive and they could just rebuild coursers for cheaper, so they abandoned it, but kept a couple of them around. So if you do install this mod, one of the places you will find these things is at the Institute, specifically at the Synth Retention Bureau Armory, where you'll find a couple of these. Now, if you're not a part of the Institute, you don't have to worry. You can also find one of these at the Railroad HQ. They appear to have gotten their hands on one somehow. But of course, if you're not trying to go with either of these groups, you can also create it yourself at a chemistry station. So, you know, you got a lot of different ways to get your hands on this thing, which is pretty cool, including building it yourself, which I quite like. And as you can see here, it is a nice piece of armor with a lot of modifications that you can change a fair amount of things, which is pretty sweet. So let's actually pop this thing on, and you will notice something here real quick, that we will get a new item, and also we get a startup sequence going here. Now, this item is what you actually set your trigger to, as it is the trigger. And so I'll just set this to 1, and whenever I hit 1, this item will activate, making me go back in time that whatever amount of seconds, which is pretty awesome. So let's take a look at this thing. Oh, actually, before we do, I should probably take off my chest piece here so you can actually see the device. Otherwise, my chest piece does actually cover it up quite easily. There we go. There is our lovely Courser Recall Collar showing on my character, and as you can see, it just drapes over the shoulders quite nicely, and is a pretty cool piece of tech, which, yeah, what the heck, we'll demonstrate it real quick, and then I'll go into my other things here of how to build it and all the modifications. So just to show you, basically, if I were running around, blah, 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 oh no, I stepped on a landmine, and you guys know how often landmines kill me in my games, I can just hit 1, and boom, we get recalled back to the last location, which unfortunately, I was standing there for the 4.5 seconds that this thing records, so that wasn't a very good demonstration, now was it? Oh god, now I have to wait 44 more seconds. Well, I messed that one up. Oh well, let's go to these things. But yeah, basically, it'll recall to your last position, but right now, with a default collar, this will only record 4.5 seconds worth of your time, and will take 45 seconds between uses for it to cool down, which is a little bit long, but you can make that time shorter. But first, let's show how you actually build this thing. Now, you can go to the chemistry station, or of course, if you have cross cybernetics installed, you can go to the cybernetics bench, but in utility is where you'll find it here in the chemistry station, where you'll have 2 different recall collars, and this is actually pretty important. Now, as you saw with my recall collar, it was in armor, and when I put it on, the trigger device was in the armor section, which is perfect for if you're infantry. But what if you put on power armor? As of course, when you put on power armor, all the armor you're wearing goes away. Well, that's where this one comes in. This second one uses up an eye slot rather than an armor slot, and so it stays on your character, and it puts the trigger item into the aid category instead, so you can get around that little weird thing of the power armor taking away your armor. So that is what you would use this second one for if you predominantly use power armor. But for me, I tend to be out of power armor, so we're just going to demonstrate this one. Though either way you go, it'll work exactly the same and require rank 1 in science, some crystal, fiber optic, nuclear materials, and plastic. Now let's actually demonstrate this one more time and do it a little bit better. So if we run over here, okay, from one location to another, and then hit 1, boom, there we are. We rewind to where we were 4.5 seconds ago. Excellent. Okay, and now the rewind. See, I did it better that time instead of standing there and talking for 4.5 seconds, which was a bad move. So now on to the modifications of this thing. You can actually do quite a bit to this to make it much better. So you can see we have our recall collar here. Just click it like any other piece of armor. And the first thing we have is the ammo mod. Now you may have noticed when we did recall that it used energy cells to actually power it. So every time by default you use this thing, it's going to use 70 energy cells per activation. And that can be kind of costly, especially if you like using energy weapons as your ammo. So you can lower that cost by either going with 35 energy cells per use or 7 per use. But if you do that, it's going to also come at the cost of action points. So to get 35 ammo used per use, you're going to lose 50% of your max AP when you use it. Or for 7 ammo, 85% of your max AP when you use it, which if you're almost out of action points because you've been sprinting or something like that, that's actually not that bad of a deal, because 85% of like 10 remaining action points, yeah, that's not going to really break the bank, frankly. But if you are at full action points and in the middle of a fight, that could be detrimental if you then need to use VATS after you do your recall. So it's just whichever way you think is best for how you play the game. Personally, I like this one. I think it's a good middle ground between the two, just the 35 ammo and 50% of my max AP. Now the next one is recording steps, and this is how long it's going to record for, or other way to put it is how long it's going to rewind you back to. Now this is a little bit misleading though in the numbers. Recording step of 0.75 actually is 4.5 seconds. That is the standard default rewind time is 4.5 seconds. That is according to the mod page, which I have open on my other monitor. So this 0.75 is actually 4.5 seconds. So when you go up to a recording step of 1, you're going to basically be increasing it by 25%, etc., as you move up. And so yes, it'll do take a little bit of math for you to figure out, but overall, you know, it works pretty well. And more importantly, just the higher you go, the further back you're going to rewind, which is quite cool. Now the next one is your cooldown, and this again is a little bit misleading because it requires some math. So the basic cooldown is from here that we can modify the standard 40 seconds down to 1 second. But it's not just 1 second, it's 1 second plus the recording step that we currently have times 6. So with a recording step of 0.75, it'll be 0.75 times 6 plus 1 second will actually become what your real time is. So for the basic standard cooldown, when you first get this thing, it comes to about 45 seconds. So for this one, it'd be about 6 seconds. So let's actually grab this and turn that on just for demonstration purposes today. It'll make my life a little easier. And then shoulder height is another cool thing, because remember, it's draping over our shoulders. And this is really cool because if you want it to show over your clothing or armor, you can actually adjust where it's sitting on your shoulder. So you can make it higher than where it currently is. By default, it's on low, but you can put it to medium, medium wide, or high, and so that it doesn't, you know, clip through your armor awkwardly. And I quite like this. It's purely aesthetic, which I like that it requires nothing for that then, but it's just a cool thing that if your armor is a little bit weird with the placement of it, you can adjust that, which is lovely. And the final thing is the gadgets. Oh my guys, the gadgets you can install. Okay, so by default, you get no gadgets. The first gadget we have here is the Energy Flux Field, which if you install it, every time you do a recall, it's going to build up energy, and eventually, after it builds up enough, it will give us 10 fusion cells into our inventory. So that's quite cool. It's absorbing that energy, and it's fun. Or not actually per use, but per energy damage. I apologize for that. Yes, it's incoming energy damage. It will absorb to then give you ammo, which is cool. Fusion Warp is another one here, which is very interesting. Remember when I did the recall earlier, you had a weird little explosion that looked very similar to the teleport mechanic? Well, by default, that explosion does nothing. But if you put on Fusion Warp, it leaves behind a mini nuke. Yes! So you can recall time if you get, surrounded by enemies and leave a beautiful explosion in your wake, which is just awesome. We then also have a hacking boost, which gives you an additional hacking guess, an impact dampener, which protects you from minor ballistic damage, which is good, and fall damage, which actually is important because there is a known sort of glitch with this thing that if you do try to recall yourself from fall damage, it may not work. It may still kill you because fall damage is handled weirdly by this game. So this might save your life if you are mainly using this to save your butt from falling off of buildings or whatnot. The next one here is the Overcharge Warp. That is similar to the Fusion Warp, but instead of leaving a mini nuke, it basically leaves behind an EMP explosion, which will be good for if you get surrounded by robots. The last two options we have here are automatic activation, which is very cool. So if you get to 25% of your health or 50% of your health, it will automatically turn on the recall device to try to save you, which is very awesome. If you aren't really paying attention to your health, it will just do it for you, which is quite cool. And so, you know what, I'm actually going to turn on, what the heck, the Fusion Warp, because that's just fun. And yeah, let's actually head out here and have some fun. Now, it is, since it got changed, it is currently resaving my time, but there we go, it's ready to use. And yeah, we still have that to the one trigger. So say for instance, if I'm actually gonna have to go back to first person for this because I can never get on top of this building in third person. If we go on top of this building and say, oh no, we're running away from the enemy, people are shooting at us, oh, woe is me, oh, they're over there too, I better jump off this building. Oh no, look at that. We need to recall because we're almost dead. There we are, we've exploded, and now travel back to over here. Isn't that cool? Oh, yes, I also forgot to mention, the explosion, it uses a fusion core. Basically, it explodes a fusion core you have in your inventory to cause that. And you know what? It's worth it. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to rewind time briefly and also explode? It's just cool. For instance, if we just want to go over here, oh no, the bar is in trouble, and boom. And there we go, we're safe. We are perfectly fine. I love this device so much. You guys have no idea. Even without the weird explosions and things like that, it's still a great and useful device. Because like I said, I step on mines all the time and get killed. And so with this, I could potentially save my butt a lot of trouble with those things. Let's actually change to another one of the fun little bits here. Let's go to the Overcharge Warp. What the heck? Do an energy explosion instead. That sounds like fun. Just real quick, and then we'll finish things off. So, okay, we're running around. Recall device is ready. So, jump, and one. There we go. A really fun explosion, and we materialize 4.5 seconds back. And yes, the EMP explosion uses more of the energy cells. So, yeah, you're going to go through a lot of ammunition if you enjoy energy weapons too. But yeah, that is the Courser Recall Collar. It is an absolutely awesome mod that gives you the same power of rewinding your own time like Tracer from Overwatch. And that's just cool. So, of course, I'm going to have to end this episode by doing what I do with everything. I mean, this technically isn't a weapon, but it has an explosion. So we're just going to have to kill this dog and then recall backwards. There we go. Bye, mongrel! Oh my god, I want to do that forever. It's just so much fun. But yeah, that is the Corsair Recall mod. If you'd like to check it out for yourself, you can take a look at the link in the description, as always. And definitely go check it out. It is great fun, very entertaining, and has all sorts of different gadgets, etc. for you to modify it with. But that's going to be it for today, folks. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next episode. But until that time, thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one!